Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. We're here for the Paddock podcast today. Joining me is Omar. How you doing, Omar?
Not too bad, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, not seen you for about 6 months, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Also joined by Alex. How are you, Alex?
All right, not bad, mate. Not bad.
Good. I like your little set, your little shirts you've got going on these
days.
Yeah. You've copied Adam Mckola, who's got like 8 shirts, not just 3.
Yeah, he's well done with that.
How you doing, Adam? You all right?
I'm all good, man. What's going on?
Well, I've been out, done loads of stuff, been to the park.
You're not allowed to go out. What the fuck?
I stayed in, I mean. So. How are we all then? We good?
Yeah.
Just 4 bloody Man United fans enjoying ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah.
Lovely. We're going to be having a little talk about Paul Pogba today. Graeme Souness, who consistently has said that he's never really bothered about Pogba. He's not got any agenda against him. And now it all comes flying out, doesn't it? He can't help himself now. But I mean, Alex, could you give us a little explanation as to exactly what I'm talking about, what's been going on? Do you know?
Well, Paul Pogba did a United podcast, and he just kind of said that someone asked something about criticism and stuff, and he's kind of gone, well, I didn't really know Graeme Souness was. And then he went on and said, I've heard he's a great player and all this kind of stuff. He didn't just end it at that. But Graeme Souness has had a proper nibble with all this.
He's lost it.
He's lost his head for Jamie Carragher this morning and just said that, and they both kind of jumped on it and said, he can't be criticising him. He needs to show me his medals and all that kind of shit. And you're like, well,
he's lost his head there.
Paul Pogba's won a bit as well. Paul Pogba's won a bit. It's not like he's...
Yeah. And I think I saw someone on Twitter saying about, again, Twitter, so it's probably not even true, about by his age, by Pogba's age, Souness had won like 2 leagues, a European Cup and a Community Shield or something like that, and Pogba's won.
Which isn't bad.
4 leagues. No, it's still good, and he won a lot toward the end of his career.
Pogba's at a different... Listen, Souness was a clogger. We all know it. People are going to say, I was Golden Boot winner in 82 in the European Cup. He scored most of his goals against Ulan Palasura. I hear you ask, who the fuck are they at home? No one knows, you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. He's from a different era of football. Delicious. But even Jamie Carragher coming out after and saying, wow, that's disrespectful from Paul Pogba. Hold on. You've had Graeme Souness saying that he's been faking injury for how long? You've had Graeme Souness that's been proper snide about Paul Pogba for a long time, brings him up even when he doesn't play, and he's got a living as a pundit off the back of Pogba's name. Yeah. And like, I just don't get how you can call out Pogba for being disrespectful when actually, how can you expect a kid that was born in 1994 in France, 1993 in France, to know who Graeme Souness was? Like, I don't know some of the captains of some of Real Madrid's great sides. That doesn't mean that I disrespect them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also people forget as well that like 3 or 4 years ago when Pogba came back, this like I say agenda, I don't know, but this continuous sort of criticism of Pogba, whether he's playing or not, he criticises him for not playing, he criticises him for not trying when he plays. It just he can't win. Before Souness was not nearly as prevalent in the media, in people's like minds, as he has been since this Pogba thing. Literally, this whole Pogba Souness meme has brought Souness right back to the top of people's minds in terms of pundits. He was just like, oh, he's just angry ex-Liverpool player, and now he's this like Paul Pogba. He's like, I don't know. It's sort of he's used Paul Pogba's name to kind of elevate himself back. Well, we knew
who Graeme Souness was because he was a manager, wasn't he, when we were growing up?
Yeah,
he managed. I think Liverpool, Galatasaray. Like he managed a few teams. Southampton, I can remember him being their manager. Blackburn Rovers, maybe.
Yeah, it was at Blackburn for a bit.
Yeah, like that's why I remember him. So then, if he didn't have that managerial career, I don't know who the fuck he is.
No,
do you know what I mean?
I think with what I saw today on Sky Sports, the Graeme Souness thing, he was saying, "Oh, put all the trophies on the table and stuff." It's like he's forgotten that Paul Pogba's a world champion, as well as winning did he win 4 Serie A titles?
4 Serie A,
cups over there as well. So
Europa League and FA Cup.
Yeah, he's got an accolade himself, and it's like, Graeme Souness is kind of saying, "Oh, look at me, I've got all these trophies and stuff." But it's kind of like disrespecting Pogba in a lot of ways.
And also, like the disrespect thing's only brought into it now. He said one thing back, and that was, like you said, Alex, it wasn't even that harsh. It wasn't like he was like, who the fuck is Graeme Souness? He's a wet wipe. He didn't say any of that. He just was like, to be honest, I don't really know who he was. I've heard he's a great player. Like, that's not even that bad a thing to say, is it? When someone's brought Souness up.
We've kind of got to realise here that Souness and Carragher are working for Sky Sports. So it would have been like if Paul Pogba made a statement today saying, "Oh, Stephen Allison said this about me. He's chatting shit." It's like Steve would then have to make a video to respond because you'd be daft not to.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like in the media industry. They know what they're doing. And Sky Sports know that. It's borderline, I think, with it. It's part of its subconscious racism with the way they speak about Paul Pogba. And I think a lot of that goes on. And Raheem Sterling spoke about it, and now people don't target him, they target other people. And the way people speak about Paul Pogba, even now, like, oh, he's being disrespectful. So what, after he just spoke out once against the shit you've been saying for months and years? You said he faked an injury, do you know what I mean? Like, that is disrespectful in itself to question a player's honesty and stuff like that. Like,
and also, if you I don't know if you have you guys heard the podcast, the actual one with Pogba.
I know this is the whole thing. I've heard the clips of it, yeah.
Because if you listen to it as well, he sounds like a really nice, humble guy. It's something that hasn't really been portrayed in the media as he is now. And like the way he speaks, the way he conducts himself is like very calm, very mature. I mean, he was even speaking about shouting at players in the dressing room to like kind of get them to play better as well. And if you look at all the stuff that's been written about him in the media, it's not like him at all.
No, and everyone that you hear talk about him, it says how he's a nice, fun-loving, happy guy who's like friendly with everyone at the club. All the people behind the scenes seem to like him as well. And it's, if you just, like I said, if you just read what you see in the newspapers, you'd think he was this dickhead that ruins everything for everyone.
I think with United fans, United fans have some fair criticism of Paul Pogba. I think it's the extra stuff, like criticising him when he's not playing, when he's the only man getting abused from the stands at the end of the season. You're thinking, hold on, he's just been our best player. Like, some of those things don't make sense. But you can get some criticism of him. It does make sense. Last season, coming out in the summer and saying he wants to move on. Don't come out and say that publicly, and no one will criticise you. But at the same time, when Lukaku was pushing for a move, he got his head down, carried on, grafted away, and even played when he was injured. So I feel like he doesn't get credit for some things. He does deserve criticism for some things. And of course, of his, if you're going to criticise his form or his inconsistencies, whatever, that's fine. But some of the stuff about him is over the top. And I think he is a misunderstood character in that. When you look at him online, or you look at him, I remember seeing him speak about like death and things like that. And he's like we don't take money to the grave. And like some of the things that he says, and when he comes out and the way he speaks, it's always very positively. So where this negativity comes from, he kind of shares some of Rayola's bad press, which you understand. Again, you'd understand it. But I think a lot of it is that he's just misunderstood. I even think he actually does have some love. He loves United. I just think if he moves, I think that's genuinely down to he should be winning things at this stage of his career. Yeah. And actually, when someone like Graeme Souness says to him, "Wow, where's your medals?" Even though he's got plenty there, he probably does think, "Wow, actually, I should have had a few more because I am one of the best, if not the best midfielders in the world."
And not many of those big medals that we talked about there were won at United either, were they? FA Cup.
He won a Europa League and a League Cup, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
Does he not win an FA Cup with United? Was he not?
No, that was Van Gaal, wasn't it?
Yeah, before that. Yeah. See, I mean, Europa League, it's all right. It's his only European trophy, so I suppose he will take some, joy out in that. But it's like I said, a player of his quality should have been at one of the clubs challenging for the Champions League in the last few years, really, shouldn't he? Obviously, we want that to be United going forward. But, yeah, it's just weird how it's just... Paul Pogba is just the biggest punching bag in world football, or certainly in British football, I think. No one else seems to be able to you can just swing as much as you want at him and it's fine.
The best bit about that as well is the way that they say to Paul Pogba, you need to put your medals on the table. And that's coming from Liverpool fans who've backed Steven Gerrard for so many years, who's won...
Yeah, one Champions League and about
two FA Cups.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on. I mean, you've seen the team he's in. You never say about Gerrard and say, oh, well, it's because he's not good enough or anything like that. It's because of the team he's been in for the past few years. And that's what United haven't been a team that's good enough to compete for the league. United haven't been a team good enough to compete for the Champions League. So you can't say that that's Paul Pogba's fault.
With regards to like where you guys all stand. Where do you all stand with Paul Pogba at the moment?
I think if he wants to stay and he signs a new contract, then I'm happy for him to stay. To be honest, I'd like him to stay. I think he's our best player. But if he's running down his contract and he wants to leave, then sell him. But
are you surprised then, Joe, that he hasn't come out and kind of clarified a bit on his future then? Because all the talk.
No, I'm not surprised because I think he's quite happy to leave. I don't think he's like, oh, I'm going to sign a contract no matter what. I'm definitely staying. I love it here. I think he likes Man United. He obviously has a place for it in his heart. He came through at United, all that sort of stuff. I don't think he'd be gutted if he stayed, but I think it's obvious that he wouldn't mind playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona or Juventus. I think I'm not really surprised. None of Raiola's clients come out and say that either, do they? They're always, well, this season's one thing that we'll see next year. That's just what all footballers say now. So I think I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think he comes out and says, "I want to stay," because that would weaken his hand in any negotiations. As much as we would like it to happen, from a purely business perspective, it would never happen. Yeah, I want him to stay. I think he's the best player that we've got. If you keep him, you solve a massive issue going forward in terms of, you start then to look at your attack and think we've got as many options as Liverpool or City, and you start to think a lot more positive. I'd still be positive if he left and we signed someone like Grealish. That's not to say I wouldn't be, but I think with form and consistency in selection, so not being injured, I think he can be the best Premier League midfielder. So it'd be daft to let him.
We saw that last season.
But he has to sign a deal. And he got offered one of the best contracts United have ever offered anybody last summer, and he didn't sign it. So if it was about money, he would have signed it. I don't think it's about money.
What's it about then?
I think it's about trophies.
We had the debate as well. We had the debate about Pogba, and I said, to be honest, you can't disagree that he is our best player because he is, and I think that he would do very. I think that it needs to be a decision this summer. It needs to be you're either sign this contract done and whatever, or we need to go look. The Paul Pogba thing hasn't worked out at Manchester United for whatever it is, for fault of his own, for no fault of his own, whatever you'd say. Now is the time we need to do something different. We need to go down a different route. I think Bruno's part of that different route. I think that's why he got brought in. I think that's why he got brought in January and didn't get brought in last summer. I think if Pogba had gone last summer, I think Bruno comes in. But I think we push harder from him in the summer. Whereas now I think he is part of the replacement to it all. And we'll see. I mean, we've got to say, like I said, he needs to come out and say it. I think he needs to come out and sign. No, he doesn't need to say it. He needs to sign the contract. That's what needs to happen now. Or we need to move on, and we need to not worry about it. You've seen what Liverpool have done with Coutinho. You've seen how they got to the point where he was one of their best players, and simply was. But at some point, the money gets too much. The money gets to the phase that he has to do it, and also the player wants to do different things, and that's what you've just got to say. Go and do that. They reinvest. Look what they did. They signed Alisson and Van Dijk, and now, well, they should have won the league, but
how mad is it, by the way, that we might not get as much for Pogba as they got for Coutinho? When, he's a good player, but come on, there's no Paul Pogba.
That's probably the reason why he'll stay, because no one's... Especially now, you look at La Liga and Serie A is probably going to be the hardest hit clubs in terms of, the top 5 European leagues. Yeah. Even I think Ronaldo and everyone's had to have a pay cut. So in terms of them dishing out contracts, and that's the thing, I even think with Angel Gomez, his contract could be done, but it could be a thing that United can't announce it because they might think morally or ethically to be announcing big contracts and big deals.
This guy's got 30 grand a week. Here you go.
At this time is a little bit difficult to do. So even if he has agreed to stay, which could be a possibility because of how much more media work and stuff he's doing, although... he's
kind of has coincidence.
No, I think he has those obligations because they're doing fuck all else at this moment. You have to earn your money somehow, but at the same time, it could be. I mean, they put Angel Gomez in a podcast last week, didn't they? As well, or in some sort of video like that. It's you weren't seeing much of him before, so it might be.
Comment here from Mo Wada, one of our members. If you want to become a member, just click the join button and select your tier which you'd like to join, and it helps us out. He said it was also in the context, going back to the interview, the podcast here with Pogba, it was also in the context of him saying that he doesn't even watch post-match commentary. He wasn't being disrespectful. Yeah, like you said, Adam, obviously Souness has to come out and respond to what Pogba said. But when you watch it and you listen to it, it really wasn't him trying to be a dick to Souness. It was maybe a sly dig, but that at most, it wasn't like, I don't even know who he is, mate. It wasn't like, Mad Men. I've seen a lot of people putting that Mad Men meme out where he just says in the lift, like, oh, I hate you, or this, or that, and then he just goes, I don't even think about you. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that level of, like, cutting him in half. It was, like you said, it was just maybe a sly dig at most, but generally it was just saying, I don't really watch the commentary and stuff. So
if he did call him a prick, he'd be well within his rights.
It'd be fantastic, wouldn't
it? But I think the other thing is as well, Sky Sports said all this, and literally the account that tweeted the bit this morning is Sky Sports Premier League, and their header is a picture of Paul Pogba.
Yeah,
and you just like, Paul Pogba sells things from not only Man United, for the Premier League, because he is a world-class player.
Is the most,
and he is a brand. He is recognisable football in the Premier League. He's up there. And so for them to say things like that, you're just like, you're using his face, so he's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. Is the biggest name player for the biggest club in the world, not just the Premier League. Like United get more views and likes and clicks than anyone else in the world, so it's no wonder he gets so much attention. And I suppose when he's as good as he is, and United aren't really winning very much, it's no surprise really that most of that attention is negative, because the attention on the whole club has been negative, hasn't it?
Well, he said as well in the podcast that because he was the record transfer in British history, there's almost like an expectation of him to deliver goals, to deliver assists. But people forget that he is a midfielder, and like in that position where he's been playing historically, you're not always going to get goals. Yeah, I know he may need the assist to his name and stuff, but you can't expect like 25, 30 goals a season from a number 8 position.
No,
at all.
I've never known a player that's had because everyone knows he can do it. He can pretty much do everything. People expect him to literally be world class at everything in every game. Otherwise, he's a failure.
But even when he was our top goals and top assist maker.
Yeah, last season
credit.
He wasn't good.
They started saying Luke Shaw was fucking player of the season.
Yeah, I can't believe Luke Shaw got player.
That was absolute bollocks. Like everyone tried their best not to give him credit. Yeah. Like he's like, oh no, Luke Shaw's improved a lot, and he's finally been able to keep fit for 2 months. Or Lindelof's looked good, but Paul Pogba was by far and away our best player last season.
Like double digits goals and assists, most goals, most assists at the club from midfield, and we, in a season where we were absolutely shocking. And like you said, people found a way.
I might be wrong, but I don't think a midfielder has ever done that for us. I might be wrong.
Maybe I could see Scholes doing it, but
most goals and assists in a season.
Oh, most goals. I thought you meant 10 and 10.
Because he had most goals and most assists in a season, didn't he? I don't think any other midfielder would have done that in our history. Because when Scholes would have had goals and assists, there would have been so much
strikers. Yeah, Rooney maybe, but he wasn't.
With regard to like Pogba staying, then what foundations do you guys think needs to be in place in order to kind of like sway him, maybe, to stay at the club?
For me, I think that has to have been done. I think the Solskjaer project is what it is now. That's how it's going to be. There's no one going to change that. Yeah. I think if he asks, I need better players around me. I think you can clearly see that's done. You've seen. They've signed 3 starters, maybe, and then a question of a 4th. Dan James kind of come in and done bits and pieces, but you can't really class him a starter. And the room, and if they turn around to him and say, we're looking at X, Y, and Z this summer, that's it. That's what they've got to do. He's kind of shown what he needs to do. And if he's on Ollie's side, which I think he is, and I think he does fit into, I think he wants to do that, then that should be enough. You don't need shouldn't need to be any more than that now, really.
Yeah.
Like I said, the foundations are there. I think as the season's gone on under Solskjaer, we can all agree that at the point that the season finished or was suspended, it's probably the most optimistic in terms of long term that most of us have been in. For me, certainly since Mourinho first came in, it's like it actually feels like there's a basis for things to work for 2 or 3 years now, rather than just. If we don't win the league this season, we've got a 28-year-old or 29-year-old average squad where a lot of players need changing.
If you get Jadon Sancho, you're looking at
exactly.
Yeah.
You got Jadon, Marshall, Rashford,
and even the defences, the oldest person in the defence is Harry Maguire at 26 or 27 now, maybe. This team in 2 years or 3 years, even without transfers, which obviously we need to make and will make, is better now than it is. It's better then than it is now, and a lot of teams aren't like that. Certainly, some of the top teams seem to be slightly older. I just think that that's the foundation. That in itself is a great foundation to start from. There seems to be a more settled feeling around the club at the moment, and I just think if he is going to stay, now is the best chance we've had of convincing him to. What do you think, Omar? You ask all the questions and then I forget to come back and ask you the same question.
With Paul Pogba, I personally want him to stay because I always picture in my head, imagine a midfield of Fred, Bruno, Pogba. I mean, arguably that you could compete with maybe Liverpool's midfield or City's midfield in terms of being like the best midfield three out and out in the league. Without Paul Pogba, we are a worse side. That's true. If you look at the win ratios, we probably win more with Pogba than we do without him. But I think if you build kind of a spine around him as well as Bruno, and then maybe you're looking at Sancho, Martial, Rashford on the left, then you can. That's easily a top three side, I think, in my opinion. And maybe another backup striker as well. Who knows what's going to happen with the striker front? But if you've got more creative players around Paul Pogba, then I think you're going to see more goals and assists in his game.
And surely he sees that as well. Like he's not some, Bruno's coming in has clearly changed things. The idea of him coming back into that squad, I'm sure he's looking forward to playing with Bruno. Like you said, Adam, if Sancho comes in as well, like there's no way that he doesn't notice that is edging towards one of the better teams in the league. Whereas you look at some of the first 11s we've had to play this season with injuries and stuff, where you've got 4 or 5 players on the pitch that you think probably shouldn't be at the club, let alone in the first team. All of a sudden, that sort of first-strength starting 11 next season, if Pogba does stay, we were to add to it with Sancho, is one of the best teams in the league. It's quite exciting.
That's one of the positives of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job so far. I still would say there's a question mark. Is it a man to bring us the big trophies? There's a big question mark there. We don't know, but we thought Jose was that because he had done it and he never did. So I feel like he's the first manager to actually put foundations in place. Maybe take some short-term pain for some long-term gain. He took a little bit of a caning for it at times when the results weren't right, but it started to pay off. And I think when you look at Paul Pogba, as much as I want him to stay, and I really want him to stay, and I think he's our best player, actually, if he went, I think the team is being built so that we don't rely on one player. In the past for too long, it's been, and that's been detrimental to Paul Pogba. It's been, we're trying to build a team around Paul Pogba. That's not what Paul Pogba is, and that's not what we need to do. We need to build a team that functions without our best players. Look at City, look at Liverpool, they're the same. And actually, we might come into a period of time now where City, who knows where Guardiola is in a year or two, and the kind of rebuild they've got to go through. Liverpool, I got a feeling they're going to sell maybe Salah or something like that. And, you might see a leveling out, a chopping and changing, and then they'll go again and kind of rebuild. And that could, I'm not saying they're not going to be strong next season, but in the next 2 seasons, they could be looking to rebuild. And there's a big chance for us there. And so even if Pogba goes and we replace him with a Grealish, at the moment, I'm quite confident that we'd still be able to function as a team and keep moving forward. But keeping Paul Pogba there, it's a big statement, and it's a big statement to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can convince Paul Pogba to stay, and as much as it may be down to Juve and Real not having the transfer fees, that says a lot for his credentials as a manager.
That's true. I've not thought of it like that, really. Like, if you see Paul Pogba sat next to Solskjaer signing a contract extension, all of a sudden you're thinking, fucking hell, we're onto something here where this player who's, like I said, clearly our best player, clearly could win stuff at other clubs. If he's like, you know what, I like the look of this, I'm going to stay, that would be massive in terms of what it looks like from the outside in, like looking in at the club. And Liverpool as well, when you talk about them potentially dropping off, I know it's easy to say, well, look how well they've done this season. Look how well City did last season. And aren't they like 20 points less than what they had last season, or 17 points less than what they had at this point last season?
When I say dropping off, I don't mean like that, but I think
it doesn't take much, does it?
Klopp's looking at maybe selling like one of the front three and reinvesting there. How well does that go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because changing players isn't easy and changing big names isn't easy. How much longer can Trent and Robertson keep delivering these unreal numbers in terms of assists and stuff? And then it's kind of, can they find a new way to function and play as a team? They've still got great players throughout that team.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's going to be a lot of change there in the near future. And because we've got this team that Wan-Bissaka, you could say he's going to be in that position for 5 years. If we sign Sancho, Rashford, Marshall, Bruno, keep Pogba, those are players that you think are going to hold their positions for the foreseeable future. So you've got something to build there. And you can start looking to progress up rather than, start replanning for things. Ollie's done a really good job, man.
I think as well on that as well, it's not just, it is City and Liverpool are obviously the people to target, but I think you look at the other teams, I think there's questions at the start of this season, whether Chelsea were that far ahead of us, how far ahead they were of us. There was questions over whether Arsenal could, they made bigger they kind of made those signings, that front three, they had Pepe, Lacazette, and there was the questions of do we have that quality, so there's all, and Tottenham as well, just been
Tottenham were well ahead of us and have been consistently for 4 years.
Tottenham were the next thing, and now they've kind of, they've dropped off, had a big drop off as well. And then Leicester, there's the question over Leicester. Depends how well they can keep it as well, how they can keep all them players, whether it's Maddison that comes to us or Maddison that goes elsewhere. Jamie Vardy, is probably coming towards the end of his peak of what he can do. So, we'd look, it all looks a little bit better than it did at the start of the season in terms of that. And like you said about Liverpool, it only takes one player. You saw with City this year, they have had Laporte injured, but they have one injury and then they lose company. That can happen next year where, they sell Salah and then Mane gets injured. That's an easy possibility. And now that front three, even if they've reinvested in a Werner or someone like that, they go, it's not as strong as it was. And that's where you have to jump on it. And that's what's happened this year with City. They've lost one and it's made a massive difference.
And also, you never know exactly which one player is the most important to a side. Like, it looks like it's Van Dijk. But you look at City, like last season, Kevin De Bruyne was in and out of that team constantly with injuries. And this season, he's back in, getting the most ridiculous numbers ever in terms of assists and just looking like one of the best players we've ever seen in the Premier League. And City are nowhere near as good as they were last year.
Laporte was the most important player.
So Laporte was the one. And that's the thing, you don't know with Liverpool. It might be, Wijnaldum gets injured or Firmino gets injured or Trent gets injured, and all of a sudden you miss a few games, you get in a bad run of form, and it's not always the one you think. Like De Bruyne wasn't the one that won City those titles. It was that solid defence.
I mean, Henderson isn't the quality that Liverpool have that makes them tick, but they lost Henderson for those probably 6 weeks, then like 4 weeks towards the end, and just his work rate and how he organises that midfield threw everything all over the place, and that's where they went on that little run of games that they lost. So you don't know what's going to happen, and
I don't
they
think
can't do it again.
Going back to Adam and Alex's point, I don't think there's a better time really where United can kind of capitulate on kind of the big six failing, because we've seen it with Spurs, we've seen it with Chelsea. I mean, going towards before all this all happened, they were going on not really a good run of form really, and judging by United's form, maybe that might swing players in favour of joining us as well. And then Adam talks about potentially Liverpool might be losing players, maybe one of the front three might go, and I don't think there's been a better time really for United to kind of take advantage of that.
We've got Juho 999, another member, in the comments saying Henderson came back and they still continued losing though. But that's a good point, because what that alludes to is the fact that half of it is players, obviously, but the other half is mentality. And once you start slipping, once you lose a bit of that confidence, that's the thing with City. Like Laporte didn't win them 20 points last season, but what he did when you start losing points, you start dropping points and losing games. All of a sudden, you think, oh, actually, we can be beaten here. And if you have that in your head, whereas Liverpool, for most of the season, it looked like they'd won the game before they even started. Whereas that's the thing, once you start losing, you start dropping points. Even when those players come back, it takes a little bit of time to gel again and to go, you know what, we can win every game. So that's why you can have a full bad season with just a few injuries. Anyway, that's enough football for now, I think. That's a lot of football. That's the most football. 30 minutes of football we've talked about there. That's the most we've done in on one of these podcasts in ages. All right, what's everyone been up to? How's your quarantine been so far, then, Omar? What have you been doing?
Not much. Just been chilling, drinking quite a bit.
Are you drunk now?
Not drunk now. Might be a bit later. Been doing a lot of work, but trying to keep myself occupied. Really, been playing a few games that I've never played before.
What is it? Spin the bottle with your family.
Yeah, spin the bottle with the family. Been playing a few card games. Been playing a bit of Trivial Pursuit as well. Love a bit of Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah. What is that? I always hear it on like Stranger Things and that.
Never played Trivial Pursuit.
I don't know. What is it?
It's that one where you get like, it's the board game where you get like all the little cheeses, like these little like triangle cheeses things, right? And you have to answer like all these general knowledge questions.
Ain't that Mousetrap?
No. Well, actually, it could be Mousetrap as well, but you get like little cheeses, right, where you have to.
Why is this cheese involved in this?
Well, it's a wedge. It's not a cheese.
Trivial Pestilton. Go on then.
And basically, you have like loads of different categories, right? So you get sport, general knowledge, geography, and stuff. And the first person to collect all the little wedges / cheeses wins.
Have you been? Be honest, Omar. Have you been eating all the cheeses when you've won?
I can't. I can neither confirm.
You've got appendicitis because you've got loads of a full Trivial Pursuit board wedged in your appendix. That's pretty good. Alex, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. It's kind of the same routine. Innit? Get up. Bit of
golf club's shut.
Yes, yeah, they're shut now. Well, they're shut. You're not allowed on there. So they've still got to keep and maintain, but there's no one actually allowed to play yet. They're hoping they can open them sooner than most places because you can just like stay away from people.
Yeah,
it's just not. It's not happening so far. Adam's gone.
We've lost Adam for a sec. He'll be back.
Adam.
He can't resist us. He'll be back.
Yeah. So no golf at the minute, so I've been doing a little bit in the back garden, bit of chipping to get myself. But that's about it, to be honest.
Sorry about that.
Nothing. No worries, mate.
Do you think golf clubs will be one of the first things back open?
Mum went on the phone again.
Dial up.
I think courses will. I don't think the club will, because I don't think you'll be allowed inside and stuff. But I think they'll open them at some relatively soon. But it's still a weird one. It's still, I don't know. Who knows? We reckon, I think, middle of May, they reckon the golf course might be back open again.
I might have to get into golf. Just some way to get out of the house.
Do it. Yeah.
Adam, how's your cooking? What's the word I'm looking for? Conquest gone. You said you were getting into cooking last time I spoke to you. That was last week.
Yeah, I'm looking for my next try.
Your next recipe.
Yeah, I'm on the hunt. So if anyone's got any good things that involve either chicken or good breakfast stuff, let me know. I like a good breakfast. Breakfasts are boring, aren't they? So like when you can mix up breakfast, it's good to have something. Do
you know what?
Crazy.
One thing that I learned when I was working at the university, I worked at a coffee shop there, and some of the international students don't have the same like, because for breakfast it's like cereal, toast, or like fry up basically, in it. In England. Whereas they'll just come in 9:30 hot dog. And like at first I was like, that's a bit weird, and then the soup 8 in the morning. And I was like, why have I never done this?
I remember going to like...
You have any food for breakfast now, and it's the best. Just liberate yourself. Have any food for breakfast.
My first ever trip like with the lads was to, like without any parents, and that was to like Amsterdam or something. And I remember like we had like breakfast included, but it was like a European breakfast, and it's like they have yogurt and stuff like shitloads of yogurt, and obviously that's good to have, but like you just think like just like where's all the stuff that I'm used to? It's like,
Adam, what is your perfect breakfast?
Oh, this is great! I love this. I can't wait till it comes.
I like pancakes with like fruit and stuff's good sometimes, but then you can't beat a good fry up as well with the right like with the.
Is it you that said you don't like black pudding?
Yeah, you can't be eating blood, man. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Black pudding is mega.
By the
way, that chicken I made last week was amazing. By the way,
oh, was it?
Chicken, yeah, properly good.
What was in it?
He just stuck meat inside meat.
Yeah.
It was black pudding.
Sounds like Joe's sex life.
Go on, what was it, Alex?
Human centipede with Joe.
It was chicken inside. Black pudding inside chicken, wrapped in bacon. Whack that in the oven for about.
Inside you minutes. As well.
Oh my
god! Have you ever heard of an old? I don't know if it was medieval or Tudor. It's called a turducken. and they used to have a turkey
ducking.
with a duck inside it, with a chicken inside that.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and there's another one as well.
God.
What's it called? Where it's loads of animals sewn together. It's like a mythical beast, but it was like the body of a pig with like a turkey sewn.
Man bear pig.
No, what is it called? Someone in the comments might know. There's a 3-bird roast, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's literally like a Frankenstein's monster, but of meats, and it's got like a name. I can't remember what it was. What's your ideal breakfast then, Alex?
It's just it's just a good fry up. But it's got to be done,
Go on then, talk us through what's in that then, because that's different for different people.
You've got bacon's the key. Bacon's the number one. Decent sausages. I have to have black pudding on, but obviously people don't like that.
No, it's great.
I don't like mushrooms, so they can go. No mushrooms.
What is wrong with this?
They are gone.
You don't like
They are
mushrooms? Oh my
Don't like
god!
mushrooms. The mushrooms are gone. Proper Heinz baked beans need to be on there. That.
Get Peter's comment up, please. This is what Alex cooked the other day. Starting coronavirus.
Oh, that's it. It's called a cock and threes.
What?
A cock and three. Right, what it is.
Oh, you're making stuff up here, Joe.
I'm not. It is tuna. I was right. It's
Right.
So what it is? It's a 15th century dish. 15th
Only you would know this.
Nah, but loads of people know cock and
What's it called? Say it again so I can get
cock and trees or cock and threes.
On threes.
ENTHRICE. So it's
Cock on thrice.
Yeah.
No, that's not spelled right. That
It is.
Oh.
Spell it.
It's COCKENTHRICE. So what it is, look, there it is. I'm going to show you a picture. And this, and for those of you who are squeamish at home, this is pretty graphic. And I don't even eat meat, so I'm allowed to do this. This is a Tudor chef giving the idea of a cock and trees, which are pigs' upper bodies sewn onto the lower body of a turkey.
No.
Oh my god!
Show me. Bring it closer.
Oh my god!
Focus it.
Oh my god!
That is a chicken and a pig.
What is that?
It's a pig with a turkey's legs.
You see, when I used to think, like I've become a fan of vegetarian food recently because they put more flavour in it.
Stuff like that.
No. Because, but I've always used to say, like, I used to be on there. Why would you be vegan? Like, just fucking. But now you see why people turn vegan because you look at that shit and you think, you know what?
Yeah.
Leave it out, bro.
Have you tried corn? Have you tried corn?
As in, like
corn.
Sweet corn or corn?
No, like corn.
Yeah, I've had corn. Yeah.
What
I had some corn the other day.
Corn sausages are all right.
The sausages are all right. Linda McCartney's.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very nice.
I had a Cornish pasty the other day that Ginsters have put out.
Nah, you can't have. See, there's certain things you can't have a Cornish pasty and have it. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Why?
I can't.
Because there's so many different pasties you can have that don't have fake meat in them. That are still very good.
What, like
a cheese and onion pasty? You know what I mean?
Cheese and onion pasty is good. Yeah.
Why you need to go for a fake meat pasty?
Yeah. Well, just because you want that Ginsters pastry, that puff, don't you?
That's what I don't get. Like with vegetarians, why do you want food that looks like the food
because
you don't want?
Meat's delicious. You know, the reason I don't eat it isn't because I don't like it. I love it. It's my favourite food. I want stuff as close to meat as possible. You got any new hobbies then, Alex? You got any new hobbies?
New hobbies. I've started running a bit more, but that's just because there's no.
That's
there's
not
no
an hobby.
It's not a hobby because it's. But that's it. That's all.
Why does it turn out everyone's dead good at running? The amount of Instagram stories I've seen where people are like, "Oh, I've just could only do 12 miles." You're like, "What? Are you in a car? What? I had 12 miles in like 40 minutes. Like, what are you doing?"
Got wheels on their shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
I went on a bike ride the other day and got lost.
Bike rides are great. You never get lost on a bike ride. Eventually, you'll find.
Well, no, I was trying to head towards town and then got stuck in. You met a cross over the canal at some point, and I didn't cross over the canal, and I kind of went down a dead end.
You got to swim triathlon style, mate.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good.
Me and my dad and me and the lads sometimes when we was kids used to go on like 25-mile treks on our cycle. You don't know. You don't when you're a kid. You don't know how long it is. You'll be outside for you go out at 9, 10 o'clock, and you come back at 9, 10 o'clock, and it still be light outside. Our summers used to be the bollocks, mate.
That was the best one. Just going, your mates come around early on, or you meet them somewhere, and then you just out, just doing whatever until it gets dark.
And the only way your mom would call you in would just scream your name outside the door. And like birds would fly out of trees and shit, and you'd know it's time to go home.
My mum gave me her phone once so she could ring it from the house because I didn't have my own phone. And I left it at my mate's house and it never got found. And I owed my mum 30 quid. And then, because that's how much phones used to be back in them days. And then one day, the next day, I was on my dad's back.
You did what to your dad?
I was on my dad's back. And we were walking into Tesco. And in the grate on the way into Tesco, there's a £20 note. And I picked it up. I was so happy. I found it 20 quid on the floor. And I was like, 9. And then I got home and mum was like, cheers, that's for the phone. I was like, no, I needed that £20 note for sweets and stickers, football stickers. I want to get a shiny Springer and Ericsson.
So you had an era where I had an era a little bit where no one had mobile phones.
Well, that was the very end of that era. So that I didn't have a phone then, and my mum had just got one.
People getting mobile phones at the end of my primary school years.
I had a mobile phone in primary school.
You had a mobile phone in primary school?
Yeah, because my mum and my dad.
What?
Don't live together.
How are you allowed?
You had a proper like.
My mum and my dad didn't live together, so obviously my dad got me a phone contract to like text me and shit. It started as a pager. I had a pager in year 4, year 5.
What are you, Dr. Cox from Scrubs?
My dad used to page me and be like, go to their house phone, I'm gonna phone it, or like
texting it.
To send a message, you'd have to phone someone and say, yeah, here's a message, and then it was long, yeah. But I had a pager. And then, like, eventually I got, like, I think I had, like, an 8210 at some point. 702 was my first phone.
What's that?
What was your first phone?
Oh. Sony Ericsson.
I don't know.
I had a Motorola flip phone. I remember that. I had a blue back to it.
Yeah.
I remember that was early on, but I think I had one before that.
I think mine was a Nokia 3410.
I didn't have a Nokia.
You know the one that was, it had, like, I'll show you. The one that was like that cool sort of teal colour. Look at that beast.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was my first phone.
That's a 3210. That I had that. That was like
a 3410. 3210 was smaller than that.
That's the one I had first.
Look at that.
What?
Do you remember, there used to be so many phone
games. And I took that. I could take the cover off mine, and I had like a Disney cover. It was fucking awful, man.
Oh, polyphonic ringtones as well. I listened to a podcast a few weeks ago about the man who
What ringtone do you remember having? I had Zombie Nation.
Did you?
Yeah, Zombie Nation was a sick one in the polyphonic days when you had to put the numbers in.
Yeah, I never had him. I wasn't allowed to buy it.
Triplets was a big one.
I remember I got the Phoenix Nights ringtone as a polyphonic ringtone. I remember that.
That's a good one. I had a lot of snatch quotes and shit on my phone as well, like little MP3s that were like 128 KB. And it was just like, I'll cut your fucking Jacobs off, just bricked up, and I'd just play them in school.
Do you remember that era as well when Bluetooth first came in? And it was just absolute carnage. People were just pinging you stuff or getting your phone and sticking it next to their phone for like infrared it across.
Infrared?
And you played Snake?
Like, oh, shit!
Yeah, and that was it when people were like videos of people being decapitated were like being sent around school and you're like trying to get your phone away. So
half an hour to send next to each other.
Yeah, just put them next to you've moved it. I've moved it.
You could play Snake like that against each other as well.
No.
As soon as you move the phone, like from the little red bit, it would just disconnect again. It was like, what the?
They literally had to be touching each other. And yeah, I remember. And
now our phones are better than our games consoles were.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Better than PS1.
Well, I found a PS2 memory card the other day, 8 meg. Yeah. 8 megabytes. 8 meg. Oh. that was massive. You're like,
mad, isn't it?
Madness, isn't it?
Nostalgia, eh? Bloody hell, those were the days. Isaac saying, another one of our members saying, I feel dead young, all these phones look mad to me. Yeah, Cam sat here. He was born after the iPhone came out, I think.
Well, Cameron got confused the other day because Cameron said to me, he put a thing in the group saying Harry Kane's younger than Jay Lings. And I went, I'm older than Harry Kane.
Yeah, and then he called us both granddads.
And he called us both granddad.
Yeah, there's no need to bring me into that, was there? I know that you know I'm older than Harry Kane, but you don't have to throw me under the bus.
I remember when I met Marcus Rashford for the first time, and I remember I was buzzing, and I remember thinking after, I'm a grown man and he's like 18. I'm excited to meet this kid. Like, I'm an adult. Like, what the hell is going on?
I had this conversation with someone the other day. They said, "Who's your favourite player?" I said, "I can't have a favourite player now because they're all younger than me. You can't have your favourite. You know, it just feels weird. You know,
it's like I went to the Mercedes-Benz thing.
Someone different.
I went to this tournament where the kids at Hannibal Medjbury and that were playing, and I wanted to get my program signed with them. And it's like, some of these lads are 15, bro. Like,
excuse me, child. Can I have your?
I don't want to go start speaking to them. You know what I mean? Like they've still got like their careers and everything. Like,
literal school kids.
Yeah. I don't know. It's mad. It's mad. Like our heroes are now younger than us. Well, mine are.
I'm still not in my prime yet. 26. I haven't officially retired from international football either. So, like, I feel like I've still got a few good years left in me. If I want to, if Allardyce gets back in, I might have a chance. That's what I'm thinking.
If I finds out I'm a United fan of the club, I got a chance.
What have you been up to, Joe, during isolation?
I've been doing a lot of cooking, a lot of curries. I've been experimenting with my curry game. It's getting there. It's all about that you got to toast those spices before you get your tomatoes in. You get your
Joe puts raisins in his curries.
No, I don't put raisins in my curry. I just said that some curries have raisins in. I made a korma for the first time yesterday. That was pretty good.
Ooh.
Bit of coconut milk in there, a bit of spice.
What meat do you put in there?
Yesterday I just had potato and corn mince. It was good.
You don't need to put meat in, really.
No, veggie curries are just as good, really. Or almost as good. But yeah, I've been experimenting with curries. That's what.
You know what you would like, veggie boy? A masala dosa. Have you ever had that?
I had one with you in Singapore.
Oh yeah, shit!
How good was that?
That was great street food. I was in my element when we found that spot.
Yeah, that was one of the best places I've ever been at. I absolutely loved it.
I love Indian street food and that. Yeah, my dad's actually opened up like a cafe, just before everything got shut down, which is like based on Goa. So it's like a little Goa vibes. Pretty cool. Nice. But now it's locked down. So
just as soon as you got there, it got.
Just as business started getting open.
Anish Joshi saying masala dosa, love heart. Yeah, it was amazing. That place was so good. Just on the side of the road at like 4 a.m, wasn't it?
Yeah. Singapore's a mate. Oh, man.
So
Singapore was good.
Right, that's going to be all from us. We're talking a bit about memberships as well. I'm going to play the little video for everyone at home so you can sort of decide whether you want to become a member. There's a little join button next to the subscribe button. Click on that. It'll take you through all the things you need to know about what you get from each tier. Loads of extra videos, extra content, all that kind of fun stuff.
John's got OnlyFans coming as well.
I've got an OnlyFans coming out as well, yeah. It's going to be very good. Good to see you, Omar.
Good to see you guys, yeah. Good to see you too.
Good to see you, Alex.
Virtual handshake.
Cheers, mate.
Not going to go for the handshake or other way?
This way.
Other side. And Adam, lovely to see you, mate.
Oh, you should have left your hand there, you knob.
give me 5. Right. Thank you to everyone at home. Hope you have a lovely day.
Subscribe to Adam Mckola TV, yeah?
Subscribe to Adam Mckola TV. Check Adam out on Twitter, on Full Time Double as well. I'm sure you've done all this before. You know Adam, but if you don't, subscribe to Adam Mckola TV. His link is in the description. And we will see.
When you used to do that, put your arms in your thing and just make it.
All that one where you do that and it looks like you kiss it getting off.
Yeah.
How can you do this?
I can, but I can't control the desk.
Omar, that's a poor excuse. Come on, lad. You've got to be able to get the full wiggle in there, man.
Right,
put the video on. Put the video on.
It's Stretford Paddock. These remarkable creatures have flourished in their new habitat after migrating from the empty and arid plain of YouTube anonymity. Thanks to you, the tribe has been able to bring news and comment on the club and fans we all love. But now they need your help to continue to grow and maintain their unique way of life. Yellow?
Oi! It's not a charity appeal, you widge. This is a chance to give our viewers even more top United content.
Loads of podcasts, extra behind the scenes video and reaction, as well as a shout out to every new Paddock signing.
And if you ever wondered if you could beat us on FIFA, now's your chance to find out.
Wait, what are we doing?
And for those of you who sign up to our Legends tier, you will get the Stretford stash.
An exclusive loot box filled with Paddock merchandise every month.
With special gifts before they go on general sale.
Is it like a membership thing?
Stretford Paddock faithful will still get their daily dose of United Talk for free.
But we wanted to invite you to become part of the team and to help us keep growing. Here's a little taste of what new members can look forward to. Montage.
This is Stretford Paddock.
Welcome to Stretford Paddock. Welcome to the Stretford Paddock.
Welcome to Stretford Paddock.
Welcome back to the Stretford Paddock.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Come on, show off. He's the one that gets to stand up. He's the one who shows off, not me.
Because it spreads like a virus.
Tonight's sponsor, once again, Friday night, cans.
Oh,
Like a clipboard and that, she got a suit on.
No. Alright, well, welcome to Stretford Paddock.
These cans are nice.
6-0. Alright, hang on. I'll leave it on this. 6-0. Rum, chicken wings, ribs, beans.
Cornbread.
Up the fucking six.
Up the six.
Sorted.